Hello everyone, welcome to eVivekam. In this video, we are going to have a detailed explanation on each and every question of industry's theme which came in Yukti Prelims test series. Coming to first question, which factor is primarily responsible for the location of iron and steel industries near the coal fields? They are asking why we establish all iron and steel industry plants near the coal fields. What is the reason for that? To reduce transportation costs of fuel, to access water bodies for cooling purpose, to benefit from government tax incentives, to be close to markets for distribution. If we see all the major iron and steel industries located in India, almost all major industries are near Chota Nagpur plateau. Why? Because it has lot of iron ore. Actually, to convert iron ore into steel, we need lot of amount of coal. And coal is not a small thing. It is bulky and heavy resource. So, to reduce the production costs, we locate these industries near the coal fields, so that we can reduce the cost of transportation of coal to the industry, and because of that, the final production cost will be less. So, the answer is, to reduce the transportation costs of coal, we locate the industries of iron and steel near the coal fields. To be close to markets for distribution. Actually, this is right in case of mini steel plants. That is, they are not dependent on coal. Rather, they depend on electric furnaces. So, for these mini steel plants, access to market is more important than inputs. So, option D is right with respect to mini steel plants. But with respect to iron and steel industries, option A is right. So, here answer is A. Next one. Which of the following factors significantly contributes to the growth of cotton textile industry in India? We all know that cotton grows in black soil, and it is highly available in this Deccan Plateau region. In some other small area also it is distributed, but it is majorly located in the Deccan Plateau area. So, most of the cotton textile industries are located here only. That is Mumbai, Gujarat, as such. So, if you see the options, fertile black soil that is ideal for certain cash crops. Yes. Availability of alternative crops like rice and wheat. Okay. So, what it has to do with growth of cotton textile industry? There is no interlink, no? So, it is wrong. High mineral content in soil for sustainable farming. Government policies favoring the dairy industry. These two things are so silly and not at all related to the cotton textile industries. So, answer is A. Next one. Why are aluminium plants located near hydroelectric power stations in India? If you observe, all these questions are focusing on factors of the location of specific industries. Why cotton textile industry is located in specific areas? Why aluminium plants are located near hydroelectric power stations? Why iron and steel industries are near coal area? So, whenever you are studying industries concept, just keep these factors of location in the mind. Okay, coming to the question. Aluminium plants are located near hydroelectric power stations. Why? They require large quantities of coal for smelting. It is energy intensive and requires cheap electricity, which is provided by hydroelectric plants. Actually, bauxite is the major ore from which we extract aluminium. This process is called Bayer process. And this aluminium smelting is one of the most energy demanding process. Why? Because it needs continuous and cost-effective electricity. As aluminium production is energy intensive because it requires lot of energy in this conversion, and it also requires cheap electricity, we locate aluminium plants near the hydroelectric power stations. You can also get it out that why won't we depend on coal to get the electricity? See, basically hydropower is generally cheaper than the coal, because in hydropower we are depending on the water flow. But for coal, we need to mine that, transport it, get it burnt for electricity. So, cost efficiency is better in case of hydroelectric plants. That's why we mentioned cheap electricity here. So, the answer is B. Next one. Which of the following industries is classified as an agro-based industry? Agro-based means the industry which was dependent on agriculture. Iron and steel. No, iron and steel depends on iron ore and coal. There is nothing to do with agriculture. Cement also. For cement, we depend on limestone. And petrochemical means polymers, synthetic fibers. It has nothing to do with agriculture. But see, food processing. Food processing means processing the dairy, meat, crop-based products. All things are dependent on agriculture only. That's why we call food processing as agro-based industry. Because the primary input for food processing comes from agriculture. It is a simple question. Next question. In India, which of the following industries rely heavily on proximity to raw material sources to minimize the transportation costs? Cement industry, sugar industry, iron and steel, and petrochemical industry. If you see cement industry, it majorly depends on limestone. And this limestone is so bulky and it is so difficult to transport it to long distances. So typically cement plants are located near the limestone quarries to reduce the transportation costs. So one is right. In sugar industry, see, sugarcane is a perishable product. If you transport sugarcane to long distances, the sugar content in the sugarcane will get decreased. So almost all sugar mills are close to sugarcane producing areas only. So this is also right. In coming to iron and steel industry, what are the raw materials for iron and steel industry? Iron ore, coal. Both of these are heavy materials. So proximity to the sources decreases the transportation costs. That's why these iron and steel industries are located near raw material reserves only. That's why most of these industries we see in Odisha, Jharkhand as such. Because there are a lot of iron ores and coal fields nearby. And see the petrochemical industry. See, petrochemical industries depend on crude oil. Next one, petrochemical industry. Basically, these petrochemical industries depend on the crude oil. We can transport this crude oil through pipelines, through shipping. There are so many options. So this industry doesn't need to be located close to the raw material because we can transport it to long places also. So most of these industries will research on where will we get cheap labor, where can we get cheap power, and depending on these they locate their industries. So here the answer is C. Next one. Which of the following correctly describes the impact of India's economic liberalization on the industrial sector in the 1990s? In 1991, economic liberalization, that is LPG reforms happened. So how it impacted India's industrial sector? This is the question. Reduction in the dominance of public sector industries. Yes, at this time only, public sector industries dominance got decreased and so many private industries came into the picture. So one is the general statement. Expansion of foreign direct investment in core sectors. Yes, at this time we have seen lot of MNCs establishing their branches here. For example, Maruti Suzuki. Maruti company partnered with the Suzuki company of Japan, which transformed the car industry in India. So this is also one sort of FDI only, right? The second statement is also right. Complete privatization of all public sector undertakings. Well, private sector came, but at the same time, public sector is also there. Even now, we can see lot of public sector undertakings like ONGC, BEL, Oil India. So many companies are there which belongs to government. So, complete privatization of all PSUs is wrong option. Answer is 1 and 2. Next one. Industrial processes we have to match with associated industries. They give 4 industrial processes. Electrolysis, vulcanization, distillation and annealing. Among all these 4 processes, we frequently hear of distillation. After distillation of crude oil, we get petroleum, diesel, etc. So, distillation goes with petroleum. This is the process of distillation. Basically, what we do is, we import the crude oil and let it go through a process of distillation. That is, according to the temperature, we get fuel oil, diesel, petroleum, etc. So, distillation process goes with petroleum. And next one. See, this is the natural rubber which we get from rubber trees. In tropical areas of South America, Amazon, we see lot of natural rubber. The problem with this natural rubber is, it will become sticky in hot conditions and will become hard in cold conditions. That's why we do a process of vulcanization for rubber. What we do here is, we mix some percentage of sulfur in the natural rubber. This leads to vulcanization. This is called vulcanized rubber. This rubber is so hard and can be used in all weather conditions. Actually, there is an interesting story behind this vulcanization. This vulcanization is called accidental invention. I'll tell you why. Because this natural rubber is so uncertain, so many scientists are working on this natural rubber to make it more hard and strong. One time what happened, an American scientist, when he was in lab, he accidentally spilled a mixture of rubber and sulfur onto a hot stove. He thought that, array, so much mess I have done. And to his surprise, that rubber got hardened. And this later led to commercial production of vulcanized rubber. This thing only we are calling as vulcanized rubber these days. So vulcanization goes with rubber. 2A, 3B. Answer is A. Anyhow, we'll see the other options also. Next, we will see what is annealing mean. Basically, what we do is, we heat the metal to a specific temperature, almost very, very high temperature, and then we cool it. This process makes the metal so soft so that we can cut the metal and shape it more easily. This is called annealed metal. Hardened metal looks like this. It is so hard. And annealed metal looks like this. We can twist it and turn it whatever the way we want. Annealing goes with steel. We heat the steel to certain temperature and later allow it to cool. And then we can mold it to whatever way we want. And electrolysis. Electrolysis is nothing here. It is a simple process. If we have rusted metals, we do the process of electrolysis. With this process, we can remove the rust. That's it. So electrolysis goes with metal refining. Answer is A. Next one. Consider the following industries in India: fertilizer industry, cement industry, IT and software, automobile industry. Which of the following are energy intensive industries? Fertilizer industry. See, especially these nitrogen fertilizers, they require so much temperature and pressure because we convert both nitrogen and hydrogen into ammonia. And this is the raw material for urea fertilizers, etc. So this process involves lot of power. And next, cement industry. How will we get cement? We heat limestone along with clay. Then we will get the cement. This process is also not simple. It requires so much high temperature, around 1400 to 1500 degrees temperature. So this is also an energy intensive industry. And coming to IT and software, this IT and software industry, it won't require much energy. Yes, for charging purpose it requires energy, but it relies more on skilled labor. They need manpower more, that too intelligent manpower. And technology. So we can say IT industry is not that much energy intensive industry as compared to other industries mentioned here. And coming to automobile industry. This industry also involves lot of processes, like it needs welding of metals, it needs forging, it needs painting of final product. All these things require lot of electricity and heat. And in addition, for automobiles, we need steel and aluminum as parts, right? To bring these components into proper shape, it also requires lot of energy. So all these things require a lot of power. So we can classify automobile also as energy intensive industry. So here answer is 1, 2 and 4. Next one. Which of the following factors is a major contributor to the growth of sunrise industries like IT in India? First, what is this sunrise industries? See, these are nothing but newly emerging industries. They are called sunrise because they are at early stage of their growth and in future they will expand significantly like the rising sun. That's why they call them as sunrise industry. Okay. What are the factors for the growth of IT in India? Availability of high-skilled English-speaking workforce. This is an obvious statement, right? Favorable government policies such as tax exemptions in cess. Yes, if any state government tells that we are establishing a special economic zone, there will be many tax incentives provided. Companies will be more interested to go to that state. So, favorable government policies is one of the important factors. Proximity to raw materials like coal and iron ore. Why? IT industry needs skilled workforce. They don't need coal. What will they do with coal? Will they do mining? No. So, this is wrong. High demand for IT services from global markets. That's why a lot of call centers are located in India. So, options 1 to 4 is right and answer is A. Next one. Consider the following statements about role of mineral-based industries. What are these mineral-based industries? That's what they told in first statement. They rely heavily on availability of raw materials like iron, coal and bauxite. This itself is the definition of mineral-based industries. So option 1 is right. These industries are primarily located near mining regions to address transportation costs. Yes, This we have discussed in previous questions also. The demand for mineral-based industries is decreasing due to rise of IT services. Why? We depend on mineral-based industries for the purpose of generating power, using lot of energy for vehicles, etc., for construction purpose to bring iron and steel, for household things also, we use lot of plates, ceramics, bowls. For all these things also, we need minerals. But IT sector, this we use for building softwares, updated technologies, to connect with the world. For all these things, we use IT services. Every industry has its own demand, so there is no need to decrease the demand of middle-based industries for the sake of IT. So this is wrong option. Answer is 1 and 2. Next one. Which of the following best explains why the sugar industry is predominantly located in states like Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra? Proximity to sugarcane producing areas. Yes, this is obvious. Because if we don't locate close to the sugarcane producing regions, if we transport the sugarcane to long areas, it will lose its sugar content. Availability of cheap labor. Yes, we have so much affordable labor force in Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra. So second statement is also right. Favorable government policies for the agricultural sector. Yes, this is right for every food processing industry. But the question is like, why it is predominantly located in Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra? It has nothing to do with favorable government policy for agriculture sector. And high demand for sugar from domestic and international markets. Yes, high demand is there. But that doesn't mean that we have to locate the sugar industry only in Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra. Then only international market will have a lot of demand. There is no such thing, right? So only if you read the statement so consciously, you will be able to eliminate these two statements. So here answer is 1 and 2. Next, types of industries we have to match with the characteristics of them. Footloose industries. What are these footloose industries? Basically, footloose industries means they are not dependent on the location. That is, they are location independent. They depend on skilled labor. Which industry is the example for this? What is the example of this footloose industry? IT. Yes, if there are skilled labor available, we can even establish IT company in Tier 2 city. So footloose industries matched with location independent relying on skilled labor and information. Okay. Next, heavy industries. Why these are called heavy? Because they need heavy raw materials. So it goes with A. Dependent on raw materials like iron ore and coal. These are so heavy and so bulky to transport. That's why they are called heavy industries. Agro-based industries. By seeing the name itself, we can say it is linked to agricultural products as raw materials. Okay. Next, knowledge-based industries. We can mention the example of research and development companies which based on knowledge. Obviously, these R&D companies require large capital investment and complex machinery to carry their research. So here, the answer is A. Next one. What are the combinations of industries and their raw materials? Aluminium industry. What is the ore of aluminium? Bauxite. So this is right. Cement industry. What is the raw material for cement industry? Limestone plus clay. So here also limestone is there. So 2 is also right. For steel industry, iron ore is the raw material. This is so general and everyone knows it. For sugar industry, the raw material is sugarcane. What is the need of wheat here? So answer is 1, 2 and 3. Next one. Industries with their associated environmental impact. Textile industry, cement industry, aluminum industry and oil refinery. What are the problems these industries are causing to environment? See, in textile industries, we use lot of dyes for coloring purpose. So because of the dyes, water pollution is happening. Water pollution due to chemical dyes. So 1 goes with D. In cement industry, we all know that from cement industry, lot of dust particles will come. That's why we have a fly ash policy also. Near to cement plants, up to specific radius, we have to use fly ash for bricks purpose. So cement industry goes with air pollution due to dust particles. And aluminium industry. We have already seen that aluminium industry is such an energy intensive industry. What happens with energy intensive industries? Obviously, they release lot of greenhouse gases. So aluminium goes with C. Oil refinery. If we refine the crude oil, obviously lot of sludge and waste will come. So this leads to generation of hazardous sludges and chemicals. So answer is A. And next one, which of the following statements correctly describes industry and distribution pattern in India? Okay. Cotton textile mills are concentrated in Mumbai and Ahmedabad due to proximity to raw cotton and labor. Yes, we have already discussed about this, that lot of cotton mills we can see in Maharashtra and Gujarat. So option 1 is right. The sugar industry is concentrated in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar because of high availability of sugarcane. Yes, sugarcane will lose its sugar content if it is transported to long distance. That's why it is located close to raw material. So second statement is also right. The automobile industry has significant hubs in cities like Chennai, Pune and Gurugram. Why? These cities are metropolitan cities. It will be lot of demand for automobiles there. That is, people use lot of cars and bikes here compared to other regions. So option 3 is also right. The IT industry is concentrated in coastal areas due to availability of port facilities. No, we already discussed it now. IT industry is a footloose industry. We can locate it at any place wherever the skilled labor force is available. So availability of port facilities is so bullshit. So option 4 is wrong. Answer is 1, 2 and 3. So with this we have discussed all the 15 questions. We have discussed about what is the factors responsible for the location of iron and steel industry, cotton industry, aluminum industry, agro-based industry, etc. And why some industries are located so close to raw materials, what is the reason for that? What are the industrial processes associated with some industries? What are the energy intensive industries and what is the reason for that? What are footloose industries? What are heavy industries? What are agro-based industries and what are knowledge-based industries? What is the environmental impact of different types of industries? And what is the industrial distribution pattern? I hope this discussion helped you and thank you for watching.